Hi there, Izzy at Digital Goja. Well, this is the Olympus TG4 underwater camera. 16 megapixels, you can get down to 50 feet underwater just the way it is. What I did is I scoured the internet. I looked for Amazon, eBay, and our customer service questions and found the most frequently asked questions about how to use the Olympus TG4. This video is in two sections. We have the beginner section, part one, part two, the advanced user questions. As always, if this video helps you, remember to hit me up with a like button underneath and subscribe to our channel so you can see future tutorials, unboxings, and frequently asked questions. And don't forget, if you're ever in Miami, come visit Digital Goja showrooms. Let's get started with one of the most asked questions about the Olympus TG4 by beginners. Can I do selfies with the Olympus TG4 even though it doesn't have a flip screen? Well, there are multiple options to accomplish this. The first one would be downloading the OIS Share app onto your smartphone and then controlling the camera that way. But Olympus thought of yet another way to do it. So I'm going to switch over to the scene mode. And now, watch, I'm going to actually find self-portrait. In this mode, it allows you to hold the camera out at arm's length and it will switch over to face detection and guarantee to zoom in or out to get the picture done, whether it's one person or multiple people. What kind of memory cards can I use? Well, this is again gone to the standard. It's SDXC. That means that you can work with something as simple as a standard class 10 SDXHC card like this Kingston, 32 gigabytes. Or if you want to go into the larger sizes, they're all the way up to 128 gigabytes. So what you need to do is you want to make sure you stick to the UHS 1 category. That's what this is compliant with. Now, to access it, since this is an underwater camera, you have to do two steps. You have to release the lock one and then the second one to actually allow you to open it. Of course, you never want to do this while the camera has been submerged. You want to make sure it's fully dry. And the card only fits in one way. Press down on it to lock it in place. And we do the reverse to seal it back up. And there you have it. Now your camera is ready to shoot. Literally 9,999 images, or over 5 hours worth of video at full 1080 resolution. Can I shoot panoramics and have them done in camera, not post-production? Absolutely. And they made it really simple. Let's activate it. And we want to go from our normal intelligent auto mode to scene mode. Click the OK button. And then we'll scroll over. Notice all the tons of scene modes. They really thought this out. You name the mode, you can do it. And there it is, panoramic. And they made it really simple. All you literally do is activate that mode and it shows you a target. All you do is line it up and the camera does the rest and process it right away in camera, ready to shoot. Can I shoot with the LCD in bright light since it's not a articulating screen? Yes, you can. I mean, notice how bright it is here in the Goja showrooms. I have a lot of light hitting so we can do our recording. So we're going to go into our menu and we're going to scroll down to the second tool, settings menu 2, and then scroll down to the adjust monitor brightness. Click on it and then you can notice how you can make it lower if you're in a dark environment, or considerably brighter, so if you're in a bright environment like the studio or outdoors on a bright sunny day, it still allows you to work with your LCD. Can I shoot stills while I'm doing a video? No, I'm afraid not. It's basically a system set up that when you start recording video, which is using your red button over here, notice how I'm recording right now, it disengages the shutter button. So no matter how many times I press it, it's strictly doing a video now. So I have to actually press the record button again and then press the shutter button to take a picture. Can I put my TG4 on a tripod? Yes, of course. They gave you the 1/4 20 thread, so that it's perfect to work with some of the smaller tabletop and pistol grid tripods that are on the market. So it threads on very easily, and this way it's easy to work, so that bam, I can use it as a pistol grip, or I can go ahead and attach it as a tabletop tripod, especially since this guy has the super close focusing macro mode. This is a really awesome feature. And if you happen to have a larger tripod, like here I have a very popular compact from Manfrotto, this also has a 1/4 20 thread, so you'll be able to work with that also. Does it charge through USB? Absolutely. Olympus provides you with their connector. That's a USB mini to standard USB. It is 2.0, not 3.0. But this is very important. By the way, it does get provided with a wall wart if you want to plug it into the wall. Most people usually want to plug it into their computer, or you can even charge it if you have like an external power supply like this. But this is very important. Notice the condition of this camera. Right now it's just literally came out of the swimming pool. You can't charge it in this mode. You want to make sure that this is completely dry. This is the #1 culprit of where situations occur with our underwater cameras, and then we have failure. We don't need a fail with this point. So what you want to do is, notice how I'm drying everything off. You want to make sure that all your ports are completely dry. And let's say, for example, if you were in an environment where there was excess dirt or grit, you want to make sure you don't have any little pieces of sand or anything near this area, because this is where all the connections live to be able to charge it and to hook it up also to HDMI. So notice there is our charging port on the top. You plug it in, and now again, nice dry environment. I'm going to plug it into my external power supply, and when I turn it on, notice it's actually telling you that it's charging. Even when you turn it off, it actually gives you the icon saying you're in charging mode. But you want to make sure you maintain it fully dry before you start doing any kind of charging to your TG4. Does the TG4 float? No, it's going to sink like a rock. And look, that's a very small body of water. But imagine if this was your pool, or even worse yet, you're out in open ocean. They do provide a really nice strap. This is more to hold it onto your wrist, and I love the fashion statement color. But guess what? If you're going to be out in an environment where you might run the risk of dropping it, you want to get something like this. This is going to give you the floating capability, and very simple to attach to your strap port, and it even has a quick release mode if you choose to use that. So honestly, this is probably what I would recommend if you're going to be out in a large body of water, so you don't lose track of your precious TG4. Does it have a date stamp feature? Yes, it does. And I know that's important to certain users, so I'll show you how easy it is to activate. Turn on your camera. We're going to click on the menu, and we're going to go all the way to the tool settings. So we're going to go all the way to the camera menu 2 setting, and notice how we have date stamp. Scroll down, activate it, and now it'll put a date and time stamp on your images. Can the battery door open by accident? No, they've been making underwater cameras now for a long time, so they made sure that you don't do this as an accident. Notice how you have first a lock, and when you activate it, it turns red, and then you have the second feature to open it, so now you can access it. And remember, this has to be a fully dry camera when you open this up. You never want to open this up when your camera has just come out from being immersed. And to close it, you follow the steps in reverse. But remember, the camera has to be fully dry and dust free and sand free to be able to access your battery compartment. Is this made in Japan? No, and it states it right here. Notice how it says that it is designed by Olympus in Tokyo, but it's manufactured in China. This kind of reminds me of the ever so popular Apple products where they are designed in California, but they are manufactured in China. So there you have it. Can I use the flash or LED for video? No, that's not something that they planned ahead for some reason. Notice how I can go ahead in the menu and scroll down here and notice where it says LED on and flash on. So watch. When I press a button, let me save it. So when I press a shutter button, there's your LED. But when I switch over to video, notice it's recording and I'm pressing the button and no LED. So no, unfortunately, the LED will not light up for your video purposes. Can I shoot indoor photos? Well, absolutely. That's one of the reasons it has a really fast f2 aperture. And if you go to scene modes, you can go ahead and do handheld starlight, which is for low light situations, even night scene with a slower shutter speed. It even allows you to do illuminated background with a night portrait, and your party indoor for shooting in low light situations. Plus, again, remember, you have the capability of setting it to aperture mode, and now I can go ahead and pick the much faster aperture and it'll pick the shutter speed accordingly. Plus, you also have the capability of bumping up your ISO if you choose to. Does it have a self-timer mode? Yes, it does. Of course, remember, you have the app that you can download and control your camera from your smartphone or smart tablet, but they made conventional setting where you have a photos taken every 12 seconds, 2 seconds, and they even have a custom one where it'll take 3 photographs every 2 seconds. And you can change it in the settings menu. And I can go ahead and change how many photographs and how long of a time it takes, whether it's 1, 2, or 3 seconds. Can I charge with 220 volts? Yes, notice the wall wart that they provide. Of course, it does have the US plug, but notice how it tells you that it works anywhere from 100 to 240 volts, anywhere from 50 to 60 hertz. So it's capable of working anywhere in the world. Does the TG4 have scene modes? Does it have scene modes? Are you kidding? This is an Olympus. Olympus loves scene modes. So notice how I set it here to scene, then click the OK, and look at how I switch back and forth every kind of shooting situation. I mean, live composite. That was something that was not available before. Interval, that means you can do time lapse. You name it, it has a setting for it. HDR, so it even does HDR imaging, which has become so popular in today's newer digital cameras. Documents even. So you name it, it has a scene mode, so you don't have to worry about having to do any settings. It'll be set up for you automatically with your appropriate scene mode. All right, so let's take a look and see what all these dials, knobs, buttons, all these things do on your Olympus TG4. First, right on the top, notice that you have an L and a right. Those are left and right microphones. For stereo recording, right on your TG4. And notice on the top here, you have your Wi-Fi and GPS module. This is what allows you to coordinate and geotag your images, plus be able to download and control your camera with the Olympus OIS Share app. Of course, your on-off button, that's your shutter button, and here is your zoom to allow you to zoom back and forth on your subject matter. Turning it on the side, here is where you will connect your strap. They do provide you a very stylish one that fits through here for the wrist strap, and you have other aftermarket options. Now we go underneath. Here is our 1/4 thread, and notice here's all our nomenclature with serial numbers and whatnot. Plus this is your battery and your memory card compartment, and notice how it's a two-way lock to not have it open by accident. Here's where your memory card will go, and this is where your lithium Li92B battery will hook up. And again, to seal it, you do the opposite, and that seals it back up. Now on this side, we have yet another port, and you do the same thing so that it's not open by accident. On the bottom, you have your micro HDMI and your proprietary. This is actually your USB connector, which is provided for downloading and also for charging your battery. To close it back up, again, do the reverse, and then we're back to the top again. All right, so now let's take a closer look at what all the controls in the back of the Olympus TG4 do. First one on the upper right, this is your red button for recording. You press it once and it starts recording video. Press it again, stops recording. Then right below it, this is our control dial. So default is of course intelligent auto. The camera does absolutely everything for you. It gives you your aperture, your shutter speed, everything. It even picks a particular scene mode depending on the shooting situation and environment. Next one up is program, where functions can be changed manually, but the camera still does the more automatic settings of aperture and shutter speed. Next one up is you have aperture priority. So this allows you to control your depth of field a little bit. So now when you have it set to A, you now move the toggle wheel over, and notice how that activates the capability of changing the f-stop. You only have 3, but hey, this is again a point and shoot. So you have f2, 2.8, and f8.0. Next up, custom menu 1, which is awesome because now instead of having to reset this every single time, you can do different particular settings. You can have your flash set to auto, exposure compensation, change your white balance maybe over to a particular custom setting. All this will now be saved in this particular custom setting. So you have custom setting 1. Here you go, you have a second one, so you can now have a whole new set of presets set up for custom setting 2. Then you have your underwater, and now this opens up a completely different menu. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the next mode. This is the microscope, which is basically a super macro. Like I showed you in previous sections, that this is a tremendous magnifying mode. I mean, notice here. I mean, I can literally zoom in and wow, I can almost take DNA of whatever I'm photographing or recording, because remember, you can use it for video also. Then we're now going to go into the scene mode. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very important mode because this is where you're going to tell the camera what you want it to do. If you leave it on intelligent auto, you are expecting the camera to figure out what you need to do, and it's going to make it much more difficult. So in this mode, in the scene mode, this is where you're going to make the decision on what imaging you want to do, and the camera's going to help you out because it's going to do all the settings for you. Here's a perfect example for taking a portrait style shot. Notice how the camera will now focus on the subject and blur out the background. You want to do that. You don't want to let the camera try to figure out that that's what you want. It even has an e-portrait mode, which basically does a little bit of post-production work on the skin, so it allows it to look nice and smooth even when you're viewing it on a high definition TV. Again, the camera doesn't really know you want this, so you have to pretty much tell it, and then it'll do all the settings for you. Landscape, this is fantastic because the camera is basically setting your depth of field so that everything is in focus. And again, as you can see, you're working on a bright sunny day, and this is where best for landscape shooting works. You have interval shooting. This is where you can be really specific and do time-lapse movies and photography. Live composition, this is where you can do star trails and nighttime shooting. Again, a tripod is recommended, and you'll actually be able to see the image being created before your eyes on the screen, but you have to tell the camera you need that mode. Handheld, perfect for trying to shoot an example there, a night skyline, but you want to be able to work with the camera in hand as opposed to setting it on a tripod or on a steady surface. Night scene, doing the same thing, but now the camera is going to pick a slower shutter speed. Instead of you having to set it yourself, now you remember you have to set it on a steady surface or on a tripod. This is for shooting night portrait where your background is illuminated. So you have a beautiful, I don't know, for example, starlit area in the back, or you're in an amusement park, or something that you want the lighting in the background to come into focus, and you also want the subject matter, your portrait, to be properly exposed. So the camera will also use the flash that's incorporated. Sport mode, very important. The sport mode is where the camera now picks a faster shutter speed and moves to continuous shooting so you can capture fast moving subject matter. Again, brightly lit situation, usually outdoors, or even if you're in an arena with tremendous amount of light, so that the camera can work with the faster shutter speed. Indoor shooting, this is again so that your subject and the background is in focus when you're doing interior photography. Self-portrait, very important in today's world. Since the camera doesn't have a flip screen, you hold the camera at arm's length and it will actually focus, turn to face detection, and guarantee to get a shot. Whether it's an individual or a couple, it does that for you automatically, but you do have to set it. Sunset shots, very important. A lot of times some of us want to capture this and we have issues trying to set the white balance and also how to set the camera in general. Here, the camera does it for you. Switch it to sunset and you'll get beautiful sunset shots. Fireworks, yet another situation which becomes very popular during the time that these are available. A lot of times customers have issues where, what do I set my ISO? What do I do with my shutter speed? Well, here what you do is, again, set the camera to fireworks mode, place it on a tripod, boom, you're set to go. Cuisine, food photography. This is important because a lot of us like to vlog and post stuff on social media. So with this one, it's going to allow you to switch to close-up photography mode, i.e. like macro, and give you nice vivid colors. Documents. This is incredible. This is a way that you can take an image. If you don't have access to a scanner or a copier instantly, you can do the same thing with a document, and it even allows you to put a verbal attachment to it, so it has a built-in microphone that allows you to record up to 4 seconds per still image. This is a very handy feature. Beach and snow, again, here we have it where the camera is being told my subject is in an incredibly reflective, bright background. I want to make sure that it exposes for the subject matter and not for the sand or the snow where your subject matter comes out as a dark shadow. Snow only, this is if you're in that kind of situation, it does the same thing, and notice how it gets rid of shadows because it'll also bring in the flash to fill in for highlights. Panoramic shot, this is fantastic. As I showed previously, this allows you to do very easy panoramic photography in camera without having to do post-production work. And one of the more popular modes in today's digital cameras, even in the SLRs, is your HDR mode. It gives you an image which gives you optimal brightness. Even though your subject matter might have harsh shadows or darker areas, it's going to combine images to give you one perfectly exposed shot. All right, so now let's go over to the info mode. So I set this on program, and notice when I hit info, now you can actually tell the camera how much information you want displayed on your screen. Whether you want a histogram, you want a graph chart, or nothing at all. So the more you press the info, it gives you information. This one actually brings up your GPS capabilities where it shows you barometer, latitude, longitude, and even altitude and water depth if you have that so activated. And then again, back to the standard info mode. Of course, your playback button, this is the one that allows you to play back all your images. Oh, look at that, I look asleep there. And these show you whether you have movies or stills. That is all captured, and you have the capability of playing it and stopping it. Now let's go over to our command wheel. This is where you have most control to do different settings. So notice how when I hit on the up here, I have for exposure compensation, so I can tell the camera to compensate by how many stops, whether over or under exposing. This allows you to do a little bit more tweaking, even though you're still in the program mode. Now if I move this way, I hit OK to lock it in place. Now I have access to my flash. So notice how I can override my flash capability, whether I want to switch it to auto, red eye, even to compensate with the LED. There's all your fill-in, all your flash compensation features. Now, pressing down here, now we have access to our drive mode, where you can choose single, shoot continuous in bursts. You can shoot high-speed sequential. And again, the image quality does change depending on how fast the burst rate. This is even the highest speed possible, which is at over 10 frames per second. And here you have your self-timer mode. Now, when you hit the menu, now I can actually change the amount of images that it's going to do in the custom self-timer mode. I can go up to 10 images, and I can do it at different intervals, anywhere from 3 seconds to 1 second. And then this one here is the one that allows you to change up and down in all your different settings. So as you scroll to the left, that allows you to change that. Now that we finish with the toggle wheel, the one on the bottom left, this is your menu button. And this is the one that allows you to go into all your different menu settings on the camera. Remember, this is where all your settings can be changed to customize whatever you want your TG4 to do. And last but not least is whenever you're in playback mode, let's say for example, I'm going to use the playback mode now, and I need to delete something. All I do is get to the frame that I want to delete, and then notice how it shows you the blue icon for the trash. Move it down, and it'll actually ask you, do you want to erase it? Scroll up, hit OK, boom, gone. So there you have it. These are all the rear controls for your Olympus Stylus TG4. Let's get started with the most asked question about the Olympus TG4 by advanced users. Does the GPS geotag all the images? Yes, it does, and you don't need the app to do it. A lot of people thought that you had to have your OIS app connected to your TG4 for that. No, but you do have to set it up in your menu. So we're going to access the menu, and we're going to scroll down all the way to the last of the settings menu. So that'll be settings menu 3, and go over to GPS settings. We're going to activate the GPS, and notice how that also brings into line the auto time adjust and the tracking. And remember, you have to do this outside for a bit so that it gets a good reading on a satellite, so that it maintains the GPS coordinates throughout all your imaging. Can I shoot in RAW with the TG4? Yes, that's one of the benefits of this model of the TUF. And it's very simple, but notice how when I'm going to go into our menu, scroll down to your setting, and notice how you start at 16 megapixels all the way down to VGA, and there it is. But it does a JPEG and a RAW. So it does both for you. That's the only way to shoot RAW, but it does give you the advantage of being able to shoot RAW. Does my TG4 do video with AF? Yes, it does. It's kind of slow, but hey, it does the job, and I'll show you. I'm going to insert a video that we shot here at Digital Goja Showrooms. Now we have an example of the Olympus TG4 video with autofocus. Notice I'm in focus. Now the lens will be in focus. And I'm back to focus. And if I get close, I'm still in focus. Does it have a macro mode? Wow, does it ever. This has a microscope mode, and this was one of the big sellers for me for this camera. Notice you have to set it to that little microscope mode right there, which is their super macro. So here I have a postcard. I can literally place this right on top of it, and notice. Now, of course, if you had the LED adapter, it makes life even easier, because like I've said before, the closer you are, the more light you need. But look at that. It's still focusing. so I can be right up on the subject matter. And I mean, look, I can actually see the actual dots in the printing process of this postcard. That is very impressive. Look at that. Wow, that is phenomenal. So yeah, if you love macro photography, just imagine what this can do underwater with some incredible fish and coral. Definitely has super close-up macro. Can I capture star trails with the Olympus TG4? Yes, believe it or not, I'm astonished that these features are getting put into today's newer point and shoots. You have to go into your scene mode, all right, and then let's hit OK, and let's go looking for the star trails. There's fireworks, close-up, panoramic, live composite. So if you set it to this mode, and again, it has to be put on a tripod or on a steady surface so that you can do the star trail tracking, and you get to see it created as you're looking through the screen. So that's an impressive feature. Can I switch out my fisheye lens while underwater? Well, technically, yes, you can. I don't see why you would do that, but I guess if you want to lug it around with you and you don't want to lose some of these adapters, you have to remove this ring portion first, and then here you're going to use the CLA T01 adapter that attaches on, and now you have the capability of using what they call the FCON T01 fisheye converter. So this will basically attach right in front, and then you'll have to set it in your menu. You actually have a setting. So notice you have to do all this underwater. I mean, I don't see why somebody would want to, but you could. And then go into the tough settings, and then you set it in here, where your tap control, your illuminator, and also you actually have to go into your camera menu too and activate your conversion lens, and you have to tell it which one you're working with. So yes, you would literally have to do all this underwater. Honestly, you could, but why go through the trouble? Be prepared. Do it ahead of time and then do your diving. Can I do time-lapse or interval imaging with my Olympus TG4? That's very impressive. You actually can. It's incredible that these features are now being implemented into our small point and shoots. First thing you want to do is you want to go into your scene mode, and then you're going to move over to where it says interval shooting. You want to leave it on that mode. Now we're going to go into our menu, and we're going to scroll down all the way to the third setup menu, which is the third little wrench. We'll move over to interval settings. First, you can pick the amount of frames. This goes anywhere from 1 to 299, and then you choose, the start waiting time, the interval time, how long you want it to record, and then you activate to create a time-lapse movie if you want to do so and have it put together a movie with your still images. If not, it'll just record it for you, and you can download it and do that post-production. But there you have it. You have the capabilities of doing time-lapse imaging with your Olympus TG4. What's the highest frame rate I can shoot video with my Olympus TG4? Well, yep, it does have that mode for super slow-mo, as people like to do nowadays with video. But number one, you have to prepare the camera. It only works on program. So you have to set it on program auto. Then we're going to click our menu button, and we're going to go over to our movie menu. And now when you go into image size, you can now go ahead and shoot at 120 frames per second high speed or 240 frames per second. But remember, this will be a very low resolution, but you'll be able to create some incredible slow motion videos with your Olympus TG4. Is there any way that I can dive deeper than 50 feet? Absolutely. Get yourself an Olympus underwater housing made for it. It's called the PT056. This allows you to dive to 148 feet. So if you are really serious about your underwater photography and imaging, and you are a deep sea diver, get a hold of that adapter. That housing will let you go down to 148 feet. Is the LED light the same as the TG3? It's actually called the LED Light Guide. It's an LG1. You remove this, and then it attaches here and it redirects the light over here. So it allows you to have basically like a ring LED right on your TG4. And yes, it is the same attachment as we had for the previous version, the TG3. Does it keep the settings after I turn off the camera? Like for example, for continuous shooting? Absolutely. So let's set it up on the camera, have it on program mode. Let's scroll down to our shooting mode. And there we have a sequential, high speed 1, high speed 2. Let's go for all broke, high speed 2. So now it'll shoot in this mode. You know, I just shot away a whole bunch of pictures of my studio desktop there. Turn it off. Turn it back on. And let's take a look. And there it is. It's still set to that. So whatever settings you put on it, it will maintain it even after you turn your camera off. Can I use filters on my TG4? Yes, but you still have to get the CLA T01 adapter. That will go right here. And then it gives you a 40.5 filter thread size. So that way you can use a vast selection of whether you want UV, ND filters, CPLs, even color correction for your Olympus TG4. Can I attach an external microphone to my Olympus TG4? No, I'm afraid not, but it does have built-in stereo mics. And let me show you, it has a very impressive menu for your audio recording also. So let's go in here to our movie and go into recording volume. You can have low or normal, and you also have the capability of wind noise reduction. And if we weren't on 240 frames per second, so let's change that, because remember, switch it to 1080. Now I can also go ahead and have full control. So there you have it. You have full control of your recording capability with the built-in microphone, but no way to do it with an external one. Can I do white balance adjustment with my Olympus TG4? Absolutely. They're not going to leave you out in the cold there. And they actually gave you a lot of different capabilities. You have your standard white balance on auto, but then of course you have sunny, cloudy, incandescent, fluorescent. There's a very important one, underwater. And you have 2 custom white balance settings, which is actually impressive considering there's some DSLRs that don't give you that. Does it have art filters like other Olympus cameras? Yep, they weren't going to leave you out in the cold there either. Let's turn it on. And when we go into our menu, let's go up here and notice how you have different settings for your shooting mode. You have fisheye, sparkle, reflection, fragmented, Art 1, which is Pop Art 1, soft focus, Art 2, pale and light color, Art 3, grainy film, Art 4, pinhole, Art 5, diorama, Art 6, and last but not least, dramatic tone, Art 7. So absolutely, you have many different capabilities with art filters with the TG4. Well, I hope you liked this video on the Olympus TG4 and you found it helpful. Remember to hit me up with a like button and subscribe to the channel so that you can share this with fellow videographers and photographers. Happy shooting!